No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we're going to be talking about a subject that a lot of people don't really maybe plan for or think about. We call it the silent killer of retirement planning, and it's inflation. You know, one of the things when it comes to the markets that we look at in the stock market, that is, when we're seeing these highs, and we're seeing new records hit all the time, that there's still a lot of people that remember when the market had dropped down. They still remember 2000 through 2009, when what was referred to as the lost decade, and what happened there as far as the effect that had on your retirement savings. If you, in fact, I chronicled it in my book, and when I got into the research, it was fascinating to find out that during that period, if you had for instance, had saved up $500,000, how much of that money would be left after that 10-year period? Well, if you had retired, in other words, in 2000, and through that period of 2000 through 2009, you were just taking 4 or 5% from your account to live on each month and each year, throughout the year, then what we found was that you would have about half of that money left at the end of that first 10 years in retirement. In other words, you would have only had $250,000 of your $500,000 that you had saved for retirement left to live on for the rest of your retirement years. So this is an area where market risk can really set you behind. Now, if you adjust those numbers for inflation, of course, it gets even worse in terms of what the impact as far as the spending of those dollars. Because even though the market was going down or staying, very volatile, and had basically during that period, you had 2000 through 2002, you had a very heavy 44% loss in the market, a bear market in that period. It recovered in 03 through 07, and then towards the tail end of 07, October of 07 on, we went into another bear cycle, and from October of 07 through 08 and into 09, we had a total drop of over 50% in the stock market. Now, it's since recovered those losses, but when you adjust for inflation, not as much as we might like. And that's where inflation comes in again. If you adjusted those same numbers for inflation over that 10-year period, you would have had even less money than what you had in terms of the purchasing power of those dollars than what you're seeing in the bank. So let's bring that into perspective. I'm going to show you a chart, and on this one, this is on inflation. This is going to show over the last over the last 40 years what the effect of inflation is. Now, I'm having trouble with the monitor here. From 1970, for instance, the price of a gallon of gas was 36 cents a gallon. In 2012, $3.78 a gallon. The car, if you were buying a new car back in 1970, look at that, only $3,700 compared to today. And let's go on down and look at the price of a house at $17,000. You could have bought almost 2 houses, right, for the price of a car today. This is the effect of inflation, and the problem with that, now that's looking back over the last 40 years, so the problem we're looking at is, well, you might say, well, in the 1970s, when inflation was really high. Well, here's something that I ran across that was quite interesting, and this was a survey conducted by the Senior Citizens League. Since 2000, seniors have lost almost 1/3 of their buying power, according to this survey of senior costs. And that's the other part we've talked about before. It's not just CPI, which is what's used in CPIU, and that's Consumer Price Index and Consumer Price Index Urban. These are the ones that are used to determine what kind of increase you're going to get on your Social Security, or maybe cost of living through work, or a pension, or what have you, if you're going to have a cost of living on your pension, if you even have a pension, right? Well, here's the things to consider. That 2 point, actually, I think COLAs, the average growth on since January of 2000 through 14 up to current, is 2.47% was the average return. So if you've lost about a third of your payments, you've actually been going backwards. In other words, the COLAs don't keep up with the actual cost of the things that you buy. So that means for every $100 of goods that you would have purchased back in 2000, you'll need $133 to cover that same cost. Okay, now that means you have to grow your money by that amount to be at least that amount just to be able to tread water and keep up. And if you expect to have some cushion there for things that life's going to throw your way, then you need to make more on your money than just enough to tread water with inflation. So we've talked about some of the things, for instance, that are not included. And when we look at CPI or CPIU, they include a broader basket than the things we're mainly concerned about. And in this one, they found specifically that 27 of the 33 typical costs that seniors bear in retirement, things like housing, transportation, medical expenses, food, recreation, communication, and apparel, exceeded the amount of increases in the Social Security cost of living increases in the last 15 years. So we don't have to go back 30 or 40 years to see this. We can all remember when we were kids, when we could get when the price of gas was maybe a quarter and going to a movie the same and so forth. But now when we're looking at the costs in just recent history of the last 15 years, let's take a look. From 2000, for instance, the cost of a gallon of gas was only $1.31 back in 2000, and here today we're looking at right now closer to $4 a gallon. All right, so one of the things we're seeing is a huge increase. All right, that's 3 times the amount, 300% increase just in the cost of gasoline. Imagine what that does. How do you make a 300% return over 15 years? That would be averaging 20% a year on your investments, just for that one as an example. A gallon of heating oil rose almost the same at 251%. And then you have some things in 2000, homeowners insurance as an example, which rose 123%. Real estate taxes, the lease increase, but still 104. That means, again, these are doubling. Okay, and more than doubling the cost of these items over that period. So again, you're looking at, even there, to keep up with these type of numbers, you'd have to be earning at least 7 or 8% on your money, and we haven't talked about taxes yet on top of that. So think about that when you're doing your planning. Looking at your retirement accounts is not a retirement plan. Okay, seeing that the accounts may be improving because the market has had a nice run doesn't mean that you've got a plan in place to be able to make sure that you don't run out of money during retirement, that money is going to continue to grow and stay up with inflation, and that you're not going to lose that purchasing power in your retirement years. Now, one of the things I'm going to do this week to help you, where's it at? Here we go. Is that we're going to make available to you a retirement analysis, and we're going to specifically get into things, show you some strategies of ways that you can stay up with inflation, investment options that can allow you to do that safely. All right, so if you're like millions of Americans, you pulled money out of the stock market when it was falling like a brick, maybe you suffered painful losses at that time. Ever since then, you parked your cash on the sidelines. Why? Because you didn't know what to do. And I've had a lot of clients come in that are still in that position. They've seen the market rise, they've been tempted, and maybe they have some small amount in, or maybe they've got some 401k money still in there, but most of their personal savings they've been much more conservative with. So what we're going to talk about is how you can get a free retirement analysis. We can take a look at your current retirement plan, and with that show you what the future looks like. All right, if you'd like to take advantage of that, you'd be one of the first 10 callers to my office this morning. We'll get that information up after this break. We're going to talk to you about how you can get a free retirement analysis just by calling my office as soon as we come back. Join us here on the Retirement Report.